Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 940. Hello, it is Mike Matthews broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont. Today, it's the return of the much-loved feature News Random, where we hear some interesting recent news stories. And we hear from Benita, the disgruntled fiddle player.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And the brewmaster. You know, a great 70s singer was Leo Sayer.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
So let's you and I discuss this place called Chipotle, or as I like to call it now, Chipotle. I went in at the incredibly early time of 11 o'clock a.m. and the line was out the door with people all with the same hunger. Several people had multiple orders of goddamn burrito bowls.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
What's the matter? Afraid of tortillas? Wait, watching a-holes.
Mike's
I got a chicken burrito.
Daily
Not a bowl.
Podcast.
Throw that tortilla in my face, mother.
Yeah.
They put the tiniest scoop. Tiny chicken pieces. The tiniest. $8, please, for that. Tiny. I mean, it was ridiculously small amount of chicken. Then, you know, I mean, he's like, what else do you want? I'm like, well, I guess a freaking whole bunch of else stuff. Otherwise, that tortilla isn't going to have anything in it. Yeah, load me up with fattening cheese and sour cream and rice and beans. Beans are pretty good for you. They have fiber and whatnot. They're actually really good for you. Unless, of course, you've had them 3 times cooked in lard. That kind of has an adverse effect to your weight loss. But luckily, I had a Bing rewards card. I use Bing, the search engine, which that's the only good thing about that search engine, because you can't seem to find anything. And you can't find my podcast on Bing, apparently. You type in Mike's Daily Podcast, my website is nowhere to be seen. The Facebook comes up, the Twitter, and the SoundCloud and the Stitcher, but nothing else. Anyway, it's Cafe Anyway. It's awesome to get this, after all the searching I've done, a $5 gift card, right? So I use it at Chipotle. They can't figure out how to use it. It's like on my smartphone, but it says in the email, just show them this email on your smartphone, and they'll take care of it. It'll be great. They don't know what to do. They've, like, never seen a smartphone before. They're, like, just all confused. Meanwhile, there's a line out the door behind me, huffing and puffing, looking at me. Who's this guy? Why is he taking forever at the stupid... not a good experience. And there's 80 million burrito places nearby, so I don't need Chipotle pay through the nose anymore. So I will not be going there. Oh, look who just walked in. Hi, Mark. It's Benita, the rodeo queen. Hi, how you doing?
Answer this girl fiddle player tell you what.
What?
Yeah, I'm really tired. It's really early. I'm just gonna make these sort of comments during your show.
What do you think about Chipotle? Oh.
I can't believe, what the hell is this place anyway?
And what do you think about, like, Bing, and you can't find anything on Bing? Oh, interesting. Hey, so I was reading, actually I wasn't reading, I was listening to Time Magazine has a podcast where they have these people that are obviously schooled in reading 101, where they are pronunciating every single word, and they are not British, but they talk like this very slowly while you punch every single syllable of the words that you are saying. It almost sounds like it could be a computer, but it's not. And they have them read articles that they're printing in their paper, which I love the articles. In fact, I'm going to mention one a little bit later in the news feature, News Random, but they were reading actually Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's recent article that he put in Time Magazine, which was spot on. which talked about the hate-mongering, the intolerance, what you are hearing out of the Republicans, out of the Ted Cruzes, the Ben Carsons, the Donald Trumps, especially lately. The Ann Coulters, well, you've always heard it at Ann Coulter, but he kind of runs down the recent list. Ann Coulter's tirade against Jews on Twitter during the last Republican debate. Donald Trump, and when the guy got up and said, there's a lot of Muslims in America, our president's one of them, and Donald Trump didn't say a damn thing. He just went, yeah, we're looking at a lot of issues and a lot of things, we're going to be huge. And then Ben Carson saying, I don't think Muslim could ever be president of the United States. Oh, really? Are you the same people that thought a Catholic could never be a president? Because we had a Catholic as a president named Kennedy, one of our best presidents of a recent memory. Sorry, I'm rolling my R's a lot today. My tongue's especially limber today. No, I wasn't making out with anyone or anything. It just happens. Mark, I want to hear all about your love life. No, Benita, please don't go there. It's non-existent. It's non-existent, but it's also non-existential. Huh? I know. It's somehow I'll make that work, but I made it work in my head, but verbally I can't do it. Oh, thank God. Anyway, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar just said it perfectly and talked about how the Donald Trump, with his other sort of rantings, it's just, we're just now accepting it. It's so weird. The younger generation is so they want diversity. They've accepted this world that we live in. They know that not everything's going to look like 1950s America, white, Anglo anymore. We're a diverse, small, tiny planet now, and you need to accept the other, because that's what we are. We're not all the same, thank God. You ever been in a Walmart where everybody is white, and you're walking, and if you are white and you walk into a white, it is the most. You start to get depressed. Like, oh man, we're boring. We are so boring. Oh, I found the sunscreen.
Mark, you know what? I'm just going to add to that.
Okay. I know you're a bit of a tea partier.
We need to build a wall. Keep all people that aren't like Americans out of the country.
Okay, well, you know what? You need... First off, the countries that survive in this world are the ones with diversity. The ones that have a massive influx of people that can bring a wealth of ideas and talents. That's how you survive in this world. It's like if you're narrow-minded and you're afraid of leaving the house every day. Oh my God, I think I've just described the people on the right. They're afraid of leaving the house. They're afraid. They're just fear. It's fear. Why do you want to live in fear? To quote the great Steve Miller, I don't want to live in darkness, I want to live in light. Don't want to live in fear. I think that was a song. I want to make the world turn around, Okay, I found my first song going into my first news random. I'll play a bit of that. Mike, I can't wait, but I gotta go right now, because I want to go to a Walmart. Why? I gotta get some sunscreen. Bye, white people scare me. Interesting. And as she walked out, look who walked in.
Hello, Mike. I make the root beer. I'm the brewmaster. Oh, boy.
Brewmaster, what sort of root beer did you make today that you're pouring for me?
Mike, this is an artisanal root beer that reflects the diversity of the world that we live in.
Oh, let me try some of that. That's delicious. It's the best root beer you ever made.
Yeah, recently I discovered I've been walking around like a buffoon, and I wanted to say that like a buffoon, like that's a baboon. I've been walking around like a buffoon. From now on, I'm going to be smart.
Excellent! Wow, that's wonderful news. Yay!
Yeah, it is, in fact. And I think you, the squirrel field player, are a racist pig.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna make this response.
Well, you guys work that out. I'm gonna cozy on up to this mug of root beer, though.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Oh, so good. Hey, that sounded a lot like coffee. Hey, tell me, how are things going with you and Shelley Shoehart?
Mike, we have realized that our relationship has plateaued.
What was that? What do you mean? It's going downhill?
No, it's just plateaued.
What's the next step, next stage in your relationship?
Shelley Shoehart and I do not know where our relationship will lead, but we know that someday good things are going to happen. Oh boy!
All right. Well, good. I don't know what that is, but that's okay.
Listen, Brewmaster, what you all want to do is not overanalyze your relationship, otherwise it'll fall apart.
Thank you for that advice, my racist friend.
You're welcome.
So you can find this show at a myriad of places, including, of course, the website, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST-940-News. There's links to where to listen to the show on iTunes. Go to iTunes there and comment on the show, rate the show. If you do that, more people find out about us and we don't languish in obscurity as much. You can also hear us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podomatic, Mixcloud. We're on Ameristream Live, Player FM. And if you want to help us out, too, there is the Amazon link. Go there and buy whatever it is you're going to buy through the link at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. And we see a little bit, tiny little bit of it helps us out. Doesn't change the way you shop. There's also the PayPal if you want to become an inglorious Mike's Daily Podcaster and get a greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters. You can do that at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. And anything you want to add to that, disgruntled fiddle player?
Well, I'm really tired, so I'm just going to say we're...
All right. I think we're getting one-note reactions from you today. But at least you're not doing a power syllable reading of whatever today, like they do on Time Magazine, which reminds me we need to get to News Random right now. Oh, but also you can hear all of the past interviews I've done, see the podcast picture, and read the blog, all there at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
News Random.
I don't want to live in a world of darkness. I want to live in a world of light. I don't want to live in a world of darkness. I want to live in a world of sight. You know, I want to make the world turn around. Make the world turn around. I want to make the world turn around.
So we touched on this. So I want to be just like every other podcaster and start off my sentences with so. Have you noticed that, or is that just me? People like to start off sentences with so more and more in today's world. All right, I'll start off with another preposition. Zag. That's a preposition they use on the planet Nern. According to Time Magazine, non-belief system, atheist churches take hold even in the Bible Belt. We touched on this a little bit in a recent episode. And it was a clear sunny July morning as churchgoers all around Houston took to their pews. Dozens of non-believers are finding seats inside a meeting room in a corporate conference center on the city's west side to listen to a sermon about losing faith. But first, there's the weekly Community Moment. Remarks on a chosen topic delivered by the group's executive director, this time focused on how we're hardwired to read sensationalized news, as well as announcements about an upcoming secular summer camp. In between, a musician sings softly about Albert Einstein. I know I punched some of those syllables, but listen where this is going. The men speaking before the assembled gathering, executive director Mike Aus, who regularly leads the group, and Jerry DeWitt, a visitor who heads a similar gathering in Louisiana, are both deeply familiar with the idea of Sunday ritual. Just a few years ago, they were Christian ministers active in the pulpit. Today, they're both non-believers leading secular Sunday services. Some might call them asshats. But this is Houston Oasis, a church that's not a church. It was started in September 2012 to foster community within Houston Atheists, which is a group formed through the online social network portal Meetup. And it claims to be the site's largest association of atheists. Every Sunday, Aus welcomes his congregants at the door before leading them through many of the motions of a religious service. There's music, meet and greet time, guest speakers, and then his message, which is part TED Talk, part uplifting reflection on the wonders of the world around us. But Oasis is careful not to get too churchy. There's music, but no congregational singing. There's time to shake hands with your neighbor, but no moment of silence. Because while it has all the markings of a church service, Oasis is designed to appeal to those who long for the rituals of old-time religion, but have lost faith in its doctrines. By the way, what's the Pope doing meeting with that Kentucky clerk? Just throwing that out there. That freaking ticked me off when I heard that this morning.
I would like to meet the girl that was at the place that denied them divorcees to get married between the different sexes. The same sexes. I don't want to meet her. I want to meet her.
Is what he said. In a very unusual sort of way. An unintelligible way. Yeah, for some reason he met with her. Did he meet with these atheist guys? No. Oasis is one of a growing number of so-called atheist churches in the U.S. Most are connected to Sunday Assembly, a London-based organization on a globe-trotting mission to launch 100 assemblies in 15 countries by the end of the year. About a dozen are already operating in the U.S. Almost twice that many are planning to open. But whereas Sunday Assembly is largely a top-down movement, atheist churches are also sprouting from the ground up. DeWitt, a former Pentecostal preacher, runs the Community Mission Chapel in Lake Charles, Louisiana. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Reverend Marlon Lavenhar, a Universalist, has created a separate service for humanists. Along with Houston Oasis, Texas also hosts the North Texas Church of Free Thought. And in April, Kansas City, Missouri began its own oasis using Aus's church's services as a guide. As more former churchgoers identify as atheists, some are turning to these gatherings each week for social support. The rise of atheist churches is in part of a growing willingness by many atheists to adopt secular versions of religious practices. It's also a result of more everyday non-believers and even clergy coming out as atheists, and reflects a modest mainstreaming of atheism across the U.S. As one example, since a Supreme Court decision in May that upheld prayers before town board meetings, non-believers in several communities have delivered the public invocations after the court acknowledged atheists' right to do so as well. While 1 in 5 Americans claim no religious affiliation, that's up from 1 in 6 5 years ago. Almost 6% now explicitly identify with atheism, the lack of belief in God, or agnosticism, which is the view that knowledge about God is unknowable. That's up from 4% in 2009. Which is what's so wrong about agnosticism? You know, they always make it, well, it's people that don't want to commit to one thing or the other. Maybe it's just they believe in God, but don't believe in all this Jesus hysteria going on. Or maybe they also believe in Jesus too, but don't believe in the craziness of a lot of the churches they see. And they hear these preachers preaching hate. Maybe they don't want to be a part of that. But that's for another Time Magazine article.
That's me in the corner. That's me spotlight, losing my religion.
Yes, the song that I could be singing when I'm singing the intro song to the show, Losing My Religion. But yeah, this is kind of, you know, we were all excited about Pope Francis coming to the U.S., even if you aren't Catholic, that was a pretty cool thing, because he had not been to America. So this was an interesting thing. He's an interesting Pope. But his encounter with Kim Davis last week in Washington, which was interpreted by many as a subtle intervention in the United States same-sex marriage debate, was part of a series of private meetings with dozens of guests and did not amount to an endorsement of her views. This is what the Vatican said today, according to the nytimes.com. Ms. Davis, the Rowan County, Kentucky clerk who defied a judge's order and refused to grant marriage licenses to same-sex couples, was among the guests ushered into the Vatican's embassy for a brief meeting with him. The Vatican said, quote, "The Pope did not enter into the details of the situation of Mrs. Davis, and his meeting with her should not be considered a form of support for her position in all of its particular and complex aspects," says Federico Lombardi, the Vatican spokesman. Said, and I don't know why I went into Transylvanian voice. But Ms. Davis's case has become a focal point in the debate over the tensions between religious liberty and marriage equality in the United States. Religious liberty! Marriage equality! Let's create a buzzword and use it. Pope Francis met with several dozens of people who have been invited by the nunciature to greet him as he prepared to leave Washington for New York, said Lombardi in a statement that was difficult for Mike Matthews to say. He added, "Such brief greetings occur on all papal visits and are due to the Pope's characteristic kindness and availability. The only real audience granted by the Pope at the nunciature was with one of his former students and his family." The news of the meeting was disclosed late on Tuesday night. Of course, who released that information? Kim Davis's lawyer, who is a frickin' seething pile of... Matthew D. Staver is his name. And he's so pleasantly annoying. At the same time, it was reported on the website of Inside the Vatican, a conservative publication edited by an American who has covered the Vatican for years. For nearly 8 hours, Vatican officials refused to confirm or deny that meeting had occurred. But they finally confirmed it Wednesday afternoon. The news of the meeting buoyed Christian conservatives who had been dismayed that the Pope, in his emphasis on the poor, barely mentioned issues like abortion and homosexuality during his visit to Washington, New York, and Philadelphia, and puzzled and angered more liberal observers. It also led observers of the Vatican to speculate about whether the encounter with Ms. Davis was a signal of support for her cause. Francis has emphasized that he strongly believes in conscientious objection as a human right, a position he reaffirmed on his plane ride home. So, liberals, don't be liking the Pope so much anymore, I guess. Is that what this is saying?
But no, Mike, that's not what I was doing. I was talking in my Transylvanian accent for no particular reason, and I wanted to meet the Kim.
Wonderful.
Oh no, I've said too much. I haven't said enough.
So let's go outside a cafe anywhere. We bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Speaking of the Pope visiting Washington, D.C., I visited Washington, D.C. as well, but this was several years ago and nobody noticed. And it was, there I was in front of the Capitol, and you can see a picture of me in front of the Capitol there. There's an interesting picture at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST-940-News.
Mike, I love that you went to the Capitol. That's so patriotic.
Yeah, Mike, you know, when you went there, y'all should have been waving a flag the whole time and saying, "God bless America," over and over again.
I should have. And maybe I did. In my mind. Which is where a lot of this show takes place.
Have some more of my delicious root beer. Mike Matthews.
I will. So good. Next show, it is going to be the return of the much-loved feature called The Cassette Cubbyhole, where we'll be listening to a past interview that I saved on cassette because that was what I had at the time and technology was still really behind. We'll also hear from Shelley Shuhart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the Engineer.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!